Thank you all. And to shed some more light on this, please welcome the director, Ramy Katz. Ramy, thank you for being here. Thank you for this beautiful film. And please welcome Michelle Herrera from the Interagency Task Force. Thank you very much.
Good, how are you? Well, I think we all need a minute. This is the second time I've seen this, and it's still as impactful. And there are no words sometimes.
Thank you.
So I think everybody's probably in the same boat emotionally. But we spoke earlier last week, and you said something that I think was so poignant about film and filmmakers can agree upon. And that's that documentaries are never what you set out to make. Documentaries are never what you set out to make. And I think it's such a poignant thing to say, especially in this case. Can you let us know what you had initially set out to make and how you ended up with this film?
Well, actually, this film, it took 7 years to accomplish. Back in 2011, I wanted to make a film about a friend of mine that was in this terror attack. And I wanted to make a film about his trauma, and we started this process together. But after a month and a half, we understood that this process is too heavy for him, too difficult. And he quit. But I was already into the research, into the archives. And I saw that there were 4 different versions that went out to the public in the first 12 hours. And I was intrigued by the fact I want to know how a narrative, how a story comes out from the minute the truth happens till the minute we as media consumers get it at home. So I have started to investigate. The first thing that I've done is I made a phone call to Jamal Barakat, the protagonist. And I told him who I was and what I'm going to do. And he told me that he was waiting for this phone call for 10 years. So I knew that I have a protagonist. So that's how it all started.
And coming from the task force, we educate on Arab citizens of Israel. We include Druze as a non-Jewish Arab-speaking minority. But as we've discussed, many Jews don't identify as Arab. Can you tell us a little bit about what you learned from Jamal in the complex identity of being Druze and how that affected his investigation for the truth?
Well, Jamal, he lives by 2 operating systems, I would call it. On the one hand, he's a loyal Israeli citizen that served as an officer in the Israeli army. 3 of his boys are now serving in the military forces. But on the other hand, he's Druze. He's a citizen that speaks Arab, which is, well, when you speak Arab in Israel, let's say that it's more difficult for you to find a job, for example, and you have sometimes you are discriminated for that because what's to do? Our enemies, they speak that language. So Jews are in between these 2 systems, and I think most of the Druze people, they work in the security forces because of this fact that it's not that easy for them to find the work, and their opportunity to work in Israel. Well, and what's to add? Like you see in the film, Jamal lost his brother because he looks like an Arab. That's a fact.
And this is something I actually learned just before the movie, and it speaks to the impact that films have on telling the truth, telling a story, and the importance they have. Can you tell us where the investigation is today?
Well, yes. Well, what happened is just before the broadcast, there were several articles that went through the newspapers, and following that, I had a phone call from a paramedic that was the first paramedic on the scene. What happened is that during the research, I've spoken with the 150 people that were in the terror attack, but I couldn't speak with the paramedics because they weren't allowed to speak. But this specific paramedic, he he quit the service 2 years before I finished the film, so he could speak. And he told me that he was carrying this story for 17 years with him. He was the first paramedic to arrive to the scene. He recognized Salim. They were working together. This time it was an era of terror attacks in Tel Aviv and in Israel. It's called Black March, the second Intifada. And he knew him, and he immediately recognized him. And he even saw that he had a wound of a bullet in his neck. He even showed it to his paramedic friends on the scene so that they could see how this kind of wound looks like. I immediately put him on primetime radio in Galei Tzahal, Razi Barkai, which he said that to all the country. And also he said that beside the body of Salim, there was a man standing and shouting panically that he shot someone by mistake. By the way, this thing it doesn't exist in the police file. So what happened following this radio broadcast is that Drew's parliament member wrote a letter to the chief police and the general attorney of Israel demanding to reopen the file and the investigation to prosecute the people that made the cover-up. And now Jamal has to decide whether he's going to go to the Supreme Court or no, but this was a major development in the investigation. Jamal, he thinks that for him, this film is only a stage, only a level in the investigation. It's only a tool to get to the truth. For him, he's not done yet with this investigation.
Amazing. And I could sit here and ask you a million questions, but I want to open it up to the audience.
Thank you.
How were you able to film this? How did you get the cooperation? How did you get all these people to participate in the film?
Well, thank you for this question. So with Jamal, it was obvious because we had the same interest. Like he wanted to find the truth about his brother's death, and I wanted to make an investigative film. And the police, well, on the first scene that you've seen in the film, I came as the photographer of the family. I was coming to document the ceremony. I was amazed how easy it was to get into the police station with the camera. I wasn't sure I'm going to get out. When the officer stood up and said that there was no armed citizen on the scene, I immediately understood that there's a secret here. Somebody is hiding somewhere, because this citizen, I already been to the archive and I saw him all over the newspapers. So I was quite frightened that I'm not going to get out of this place, but I just got out. So I was happy with it. And so I told the police that I'm making a movie about Salim. And they couldn't imagine a different narrative from the narrative of myth and hero that they tell usually in these systems. I think that all of us can understand it in a way, like we all like heroes and narratives and myths from Dawn of Man. That's, we need these stories. And Willie, of course, well, I think in a way, everybody has a secret, and the secret is a burden, and we want to get rid of this burden. So Willie is a complex character. On the one hand, he wanted to get rid of this burden, to tell the truth, and on the other hand, he was too frightened to do it. So I think that is the fact why he wanted me to shoot him. In his mind, he was the hero of this terror attack. which I think in a way he was. Like, not everybody can take out a gun and go to shoot to fight a terrorist. There was a mistake, yes, but he's in a way that's the circumstances, so that's how I filmed him.
Could you tell us why Willie was able to carry a gun, or was it legal?
Good question. Well, following this second Intifada, there was a change in the law in Israel, and much more guns were, much more citizens and people were allowed to carry a gun. I don't know actually if it happened before this terror attack or after. I think he was, like his gun was in permission. But the strange thing is that a day after he shot the police or not, the policeman or not, I don't know, he got his gun back. And I have records from the file that he was investigated. So I think the strange thing is, why was a man that was suspected in shooting a policeman maybe by mistake or not by mistake, we don't know. Why would he get his gun back one day after he did it?
Thank you. In the United States, exploding bullets, I think, are illegal to have. So I wondered how Willie got those bullets. And do you know, was Willie part of an elite unit? Because not very many people have got guns that they carry around with them. Not many people go to someone's house with a gun. The guy seemed to me to be well, he obviously had a big conscience because he burst into tears in front of Jamal. He burst into tears. But he was very effective with this gun and with these unusual bullets. So I just wondered if he was, a special forces guy who happened to get there at the right time but make a bad decision.
Again, as long as I know, the answer is no. But that's as much as I know. The bullets are illegal to carry, too.
Ramy, I wanted to ask a question here. You were taking on the police department here, which is, some might say, is not such a smart thing to do. I don't know if you're getting more parking tickets than ever, getting pulled over for speeding constantly. Did you feel that this was, that you were in danger at any point? Did you feel that this was something that you have to worry about going up against the police department?
Yes. Yes, it was quite an experience for me too. Yes, every time, like, for example, in the showdown in the last scene on the police station, when actually Jamal is telling them and showing them all the evidence that actually prove that they are lying in a way. It was all a setup for them, and I was quite sure that I'm not going to get out with the materials. And I was broadcasting it HD outside of the police station because I was sure that, but it was like a knockout. You saw what happened. They were shocked, so we got out of there in a way. During the production, I would say that the first editor, he left because we both felt that we weren't alone while we were meeting outside of the editing room for meetings. I can tell you that the police was not the only one that investigated this terror attack. There are more that investigated this terror attack. So, well, here we are, and it's done.
I want to say that we've been a part. The other Israel Film Festival has been a part of this film from early stages, and it's just extremely brave for you to bring the story out. And it's amazing that to see a film that manages to change even one person's life with the film itself, and I think it's affected beyond that, and has really brought a whole conspiracy to light. So thank you so much for being so brave and for doing this.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for bringing the film here. Thank you so much for the conversation, folks.